back, and
What we doing,
we are in straight football mode.
wow.
And
Oh,
again,
yeah.
if you guys want to call us, 844-204-RICH. And Trevor Sikkema is somebody I love talking to because let's talk about who's going to be good, who maybe is good, who's going to be great. Hey, Trevor, because I know
What's
you
up,
use
Trevor?
analytics, I know you watch film. How much can you just go with your gut, like the old Sikkema gut?
I feel like there's always a little bit of the piece of the pie that sometimes is that, and of course, like it's even more so when I do NFL draft work, and that's something that I absolutely love to do. And you watch these players, and you do everything that you were talking about there. You watch the film, you look at some of the deeper analytical data to see how efficient they are, how effective they are. But sometimes you just watch a player, right? And you just see how they move and you just see how confident they are. And you just go, yeah, but I think the best is yet to come for this player. And so I would say I definitely do it a little bit more when it comes to draft prospect evaluation, but that go with your gut. There's always a little bit of that. Sometimes it's 35%, sometimes it's 5%, but there's definitely part of that that kind of goes into the equation just from watching a lot of different stuff.
A second ago, we were talking about Dillon Gabriel, and I know he's been in the league now. It's on his second year. And will he be the third quarterback in Cleveland? Will he be traded? Whatever the case is. But what do you think Gabriel's ceiling is at this point from what we've learned college, from all, UCF, Oklahoma, Oregon, to his year in Cleveland?
I've always felt as though Dillon Gabriel's ceiling wouldn't really be manifested until he's in the league for a while. Like I kind of looked at his skill set when he was at Oregon specifically. And you look at his entire college career, really. And he was somebody who won with anticipation, right? Gabriel, not breaking any glass, shattering any news here, but you look at him and physically, he isn't, like the top quarterbacks that you're seeing as starters around the NFL. He has to win with accuracy. He has to win with anticipation. You don't really get those tools until, well, you're very confident in the environment that you're in. That's why Dillon Gabriel was at his best when his college career went on, when he was a veteran at the college level. And that's why I think that in the NFL, he was never really going to stand out immediately. To me, Dillon Gabriel was always going to kind of start his career as a backup. You were hoping sort of a preferred backup, a QB2 type of a player. But I hope that he gets to stick around the league throughout a second or third contract to where, yeah, okay, like once he gets a lot of experience under his belt, even just being in the NFL, even being with the team, that's where we might be able to see one of those opportunities where, hey, a team doesn't get a highly drafted quarterback or they didn't hit it big in the free agent market. And we see all the time, they go like, hey, well, they got to get somebody. Well, maybe in a couple of years that somebody could be Dillon Gabriel, but I didn't think that it was going to be right off the bat. And even in Cleveland, I mean, the situation in Cleveland was never going to be suitable for him to really stand out the way that he needs to. So I didn't think it was going to be a short-term thing for him, but I do still think he could potentially have whatever the best year of his NFL career is going to be. I just always felt as though it was going to be a little bit down the line for him.
We have Trevor Sikkema joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show. I am Bobby Bones. And I was asking Trevor, like, you ever just go with your gut? And I'd like to highlight one of my gut picks from back in the day because I know it's so much analytics for you, and that's why we trust you. You watch a lot of film. You watch a lot of analytics. My one gut call was a guy by the name of Jamarcus Russell. I nailed that one, huh?
You might want to turn the microphone on mute or at least have the producers lower the volume a little bit when you're saying, look, I love, being able to stay, 10 toes down on your takes, but just tell the producers to bring the volume down a little bit.
That's a one toe down with my pinky toe only. Okay. Trevor Sikkema, Arch Manning, those two names. Do it for me.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Arch Manning, and look, I'll admit, I even sort of put the cart in front of the horse last year with Arch Manning, where I watched even the little bit that he played the year prior when he wasn't a full-time starter, when Quinn Ewers was the starter there for him, and I said, yeah, but wait till this kid is a full-time starter. Admittedly, it's not great to go into the horseshoe against Ohio State in that defense first week of the season, but I do think that there was just a lot of pressure on him. I think you saw that through the first half of the season. He just wasn't quite ready for that. Now, the second half of the season looked a whole lot better. And a lot of the people that just said, Arch Manning, he's nothing compared to sort of what he was talked about to be, he turned into a much different quarterback through the second half of last season. And I am very excited about him going into this year. He looks even bigger. He looks like that frame is totally filled out. He looks like an NFL quarterback. He genuinely does. And I think we see that this year. The confidence level of him starting right out of the gate from week one, I think is going to look different. But the fact of the matter is, beyond the last name, right? He's got the tools to be a national championship type of a quarterback. He's got the tools to be a number one overall pick type of a quarterback as an athlete, the arm strength, the accuracy, how he's seeing the field already in his young college career. I am a believer in Arch Manning, even for as much as I got burned by it at the beginning of last year. I'm back in and I'm ready to believe in him going into this season.
The Manning name, I would assume, still helps with the ceiling of Arch Manning. It doesn't mean that it helps him throw or run or make decisions, but I do believe it does help with the ceiling. But if he were Arch Johnson, what would you be saying right now?
I would still be saying that he is one of the top quarterback prospects, truly. Now, I think that question is a great one, and I think that it means more before last season than this one. For last season, we all kind of anointed him as this Heisman Trophy winner, a guy who's going to go number one overall in the draft, in the 2026 draft, the one that we just had. And I think the last name was doing a lot of heavy lifting on that one, even though there were flashes that he was clearly going to present NFL tools to be an NFL starter one day. The last name, I think, helped him out a lot last year. This year, I don't think that's the case. If his name was Arch Johnson, I even think that a lot of people would look at the second half of last year and he would still be considered a first-round caliber quarterback. Now, would he be, this consensus number one quarterback? Maybe not, but he'd absolutely be in that conversation. So I think that's a great question because a lot of people are asking, how do you view this guy through the lens of not being a Manning? But I do believe that the previous season, that holds a lot of weight. I think this year he still would have been viewed as one of the top quarterbacks coming into college football.
I also think that his name is Manning, and people were maybe giving him a little more credit than he deserved at first. But there actually is something valuable about being around and having the resources and I won't even say the coaching, but the consultation of quarterbacks who have done it at a high level in your family. And so as much as we want to say, okay, he's only got it because of his name, I think that does help his ceiling because of what he can lean into, who he can still learn from that have done it. And I do think that is an advantage to having Arch Manning.
Marty and McGee earlier this summer, and they kind of threw him a curveball question, and they're like, hey, everybody talks about sort of the drawbacks of the last name and all the pressure and everything that comes to it. And they're like, what's the best part about being a Manning? And he said, and he kind of laughed, and he's like, honestly, it is the fact that, these all-pro and Hall of Fame quarterbacks are a phone call and a text away. He's like, I truly think that that's a valuable resource. Like, this is clearly not a kid who, even though he wants to make his own legacy, certainly, he's not sitting here saying, oh, I'm going to do it all on my own. I don't need Peyton. I don't need Eli. I don't need Archie. I don't need any of these guys. He's leaning into that as a positive resource. And to exactly what you just said, that is a very valuable thing. Now, can Peyton be out there to throw the ball for him? Can Eli be out there to help him, scramble and make a broken play, a crazy good play? No, he's the one who still has to do that. But when it comes to the mental reps, how to prepare and how to get to that point of playing really high level football faster, yeah, he has those tools that other quarterbacks just don't.
I think you're the best. I think you're ahead of anybody else that I read. So that's why I'm going to ask you this next question. Your thoughts on Marshall Manning, 15 years old, freshman, to Peyton Manning's son. What do you think?
Yeah, I've already seen the clips. I've seen the TikToks and the social media clips out there. Trust me, we're doing a little forward scouting, and there are ways that you could just watch him and you go, okay, that's a little Peyton mannerism right there. Or you see that and you go, okay, that is a little bit of Eli Manning. You could probably guess that this guy was at the very least in a Manning camp by the way he kind of was operating. And so we're not going to go too deep into it. He's got a long high school career before he even gets to a college career. But obviously it's exciting when the football royal family and last name of Manning starts to kind of make their way up with the next generation.
Yeah, I just play, and I did watch the clips, though. Okay, I'm an SEC guy. Trinidad Chambliss. He was so electric last year, almost won the game for Ole Miss in the college football playoff. Like, get on my back. I'm going to do this for you. What does he kind of tap out? What's a ceiling for a guy? I don't want to say that size, but that size and style.
Genuinely, like I think he could be an impact starting quarterback at the NFL level. Now, does that mean Pro Bowl, All Pro? Like, if you want to say that, I'm not going to push too far against you. I understand that he's not necessarily built the way that a lot of NFL quarterbacks are built, but I love this guy. I mean, I got friends. Yeah, friends and family, honestly, now that are Jets fans, and I was kind of telling them throughout the entire offseason, I don't know why this guy's not your starting quarterback this year. I'm so surprised that Trinidad Chambliss did not capitalize off some great momentum and great tape that he had last year, including in the college football playoff, where he only got better as the year went on. If he would have declared for the draft, I think he's a first-round quarterback last year. I think he would have been in consideration for the top 10, maybe even the top 5. That's how well he played. Because Trinidad Chambliss, where he doesn't have the strongest arm in the world, I think it's plenty adequate to be able to play at the NFL level. But what I love about him is the way that the game already slows down for him in those moments where it's unique or it's unscripted. A lot of people call them broken plays, right? Where you snap the football, you look to your first read, you look to your second read. Oops, one of the offensive linemen didn't pick up the blitz, or there was something that they didn't see. Now I got to scramble. Now it's a fire drill. Now I got to kind of look everywhere, calibrate the defense. And it's just like the game already slows down for him. So you see he was able to really pad the stat sheet last year. I think he showed up really well when it came to the efficiency numbers as well. He's got that escapability. He's got that mobility to him. And I just think that, I know this term is sort of, it's a little polarizing, but I think he's a gamer, man. I really do. When the lights were brightest, he showed up. And I think having that ice in your veins type of mentality, to me, it is something that you note in a scouting report. And he was one of the best in all of college football last year. So I really hope that he starts this season picking up where he left off, because if he is, we're going to have a lot of fun watching this dude this year, and we're absolutely going to talk about him as a starting caliber NFL quarterback.
You mentioned if he would have gone out last year, he probably would have had some success in the draft. Now, we can talk about Dante Moore. He would have had success in the draft, top 5, who knows where he's going to land, but he decided to go back to Oregon. So, what can he do this year to actually improve his stock?
I think it's play better in some of the biggest games, right? When you look at Dante Moore, Oregon's schedule had some stinkers, had some easier ones in it, as a lot of college teams do at the very highest level. And I think that he was really able to carve up those lesser defenses. He's very, very accurate. He knows how to see the field really well pre and post snap. But when the game really started to speed up, when NFL caliber competition was in the secondary or attacking the pocket, whatever it was, it's just him being able to operate at a little bit faster of a speed while continuing to take care of the football the way that we know that he can, with really good accuracy scores and good decision-making. I think that that's really what we're looking to see from Dante Moore this season, because Oregon's going to play in a lot of big games. We expect this team to be a college football playoff team once again. How do you look when we get to that point of the season? When, again, the lights are brightest, are you playing calm and confident the way that you need to? So you just got to be able to play it against the best level of competition.
Trevor Sikkema on with us here. It's Bobby Bones filling in for Rich Eisen. I have 2 left, and I just want to go Julian Sayin. What can he do?
He is a deadly accurate quarterback. I mean, I had a lot of fun watching his tape last year, whether it was me watching Jeremiah Smith, whether it was me watching Carnell Tate, like whoever it was, and obviously doing some summer scouting because Sayin is draft eligible this upcoming year. But it's got to just kind of be more of the same for him, because he is another quarterback who it doesn't have the physical tools of a lot of these other guys that you're going to hear potentially higher than him on quarterback rankings just from their physical attributes. Sayin's not exactly going to stack up when it comes to wowing you with arm strength and velocity and just the overall stature, but he was so accurate last year. Man, it felt like he was always making the right decision. And hey, when you have those wide receivers of Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and the rest of the bunch there at Ohio State, you want a guy to look like that, but he did. And I think just the important part for Sayin is continue to look like that accurate assassin against the best level of competition. And when you do, you're going to have people in your corner. I don't know if that's going to be, QB1 status or something like that, but you continue to be as efficient as you were last year and you stack years in a row, we'll talk about you like a potential first-round pick quarterback, because that's what some offenses need. They just need a facilitator because they have the other skill players.
So I was watching some warm-ups. I'm seeing Drew Allar just spin the ball, but I also saw Drew Allar play college football. And, I'm watching the NFL fans go, I never really watched him play in college. This guy could be amazing. And who knows, he could be. What are your thoughts
Mhm.
on Drew Aller now?
Yeah, so Allar, he just had such a roller coaster of a college career. You go back 2 years ago, that junior year from him was really, really good before he got hurt. And I think the only reason why he didn't come out of the draft that season is because of the injury. So he goes back and he goes, okay, well, I'm gonna stack another really good year up, and I'm gonna be talked about as a potential top 10 pick because sort of what you're talking about and what we're seeing in the preseason, he's got the physical attributes. You know, when he sees the throw and he's got to fire to the sideline, he can absolutely do that. He can get the football kind of basically everywhere that you want on an NFL field. So the physical attributes and the arm strength have never been a question with him. It's always been the consistency and the longevity, maybe is a better way to say it, with the decision making. Because you could get a couple of really good drives, or you could even get a couple of really good games from Drew Aller. But can you stack that up throughout a whole season? Can you stack that up in the NFL playoffs, the college football playoffs, or whatever it is? And I think that inconsistency, to be able to convince people of that, is why he gets drafted later than maybe his overall physical talent would have told you that he should have been drafted a little bit higher. But it's great to see him playing well in the preseason. I was a fan of Will Howard as well, who's also on that roster. And I feel like one of those two guys you could feel pretty good about, you know, when Aaron Rodgers retires next year, because he said that this is it. This is the last year that he's there. So it's great that Allar's already showing them a thing or two here, because we know that Rodgers is going to get all the snaps for that team this year. So going in, I even think that just from the preseason of what we've seen from Allar already, you kind of go into next season thinking, all right, is he the incumbent guy who we're going to slot in there at QB1 if we can't find, a home run option, maybe in the draft if they're picking super high in the draft or something like that? I think that they could be pretty happy with Drew Allar and what he could potentially be in Mike McCarthy's offense.
All right, one more quick bonus. One word, Mendoza.
I feel as though, I know it's a one word thing. Overthought is probably the one word. I feel like there were way too many people that were nitpicking him as a prospect. And I think he is going to be exactly what the Raiders need. He is going to be such a student of the game to Clint Kubiak. And I'm really excited about what their general manager, John Spytek, is building on that roster as well. So to me, he was overthought and nitpicked as a prospect. And I think that he is going to be great for that team.
GOAT. That's Trevor Sikkema. I don't say that about many people that come on. The freaking GOAT.